Good morning. Aloha. It's the Neutral Zone. It's Monday at 11 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm going to take these headphones off. Yeah, I feel a little encumbered. It's funny, listening to the headphones, sometimes they capture it, sometimes they overwhelm you, you know. I'm Jason Schwartz, your host. We're at KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui, simulcast on Akaku, Maui Community Media TV, channel 55 on cable. You can find all our shows at Maui Neutral Zone.com. Everything lives up on YouTube, so you can just put Neutral Zone Maui, Jason Schwartz, any of the guests as they're there, or just have some fun and go up and look at some of our old shows. In fact, we have, I guess we're about 175 or more of the Neutral Zone, and maybe, 800 other shows that we've done in the past. We've been doing this for 30 years. Isn't that amazing? 30 years.
30 years. Nice.
I have a guest that many of you know. He's our field correspondent and general man about town, Scott R. Bushnell. Welcome back into the studio, Scott.
Thank you, Jason. Miss showing up every once in a while. It's been a long time.
Well, you have to just come on in. You know, whenever you feel, you're always welcome here.
Thank you.
You probably have noticed. You brought the subject to me when it was a gleam in the eye of people that maybe they were going to use Oluwalu as a site to dump the ash that we then have discovered so much about.
Right.
And, you let me know that no matter what the mayor says, no matter what the governor says, if they want money, they have to follow, I don't want to say the Gestapo. That's not fair. The EPA.
No, I think you're right on target there. Yeah.
Well, the Environmental Protection Agency and FEMA and the whole group.
Yeah.
And if they don't do it their way, it's my way or the highway.
Yeah, and that's the mess we're in everywhere across the country.
It's a crazy time. I've seen Eddie Garcia was on our show. He's a farmer and I want to say scientist. Living Earth Systems. Up on Instagram, you'll see many posts that he does, and they're helping people learn how to live in small spaces and grow around their own places naturally, and he's been continually following what's been going on there in the West, and a lot of people have, but he's been faithfully putting up drone videos and showing. They're still doing the same thing. And you who watch our show and listen to our show know that we've brought on scientists that have shown alternatives, and we've had Department of Health on, and we've had everybody on, cultural leaders, and we come back to the same thing. It's still happening, and, it's very possible that I will be way dead when the ramifications of this really are seen. But we know what's happening. I'm surprised that we don't have, when we see the wars going around the world, and we see at the college campuses all the protests about all the killing and all the stuff going on, and we're having it here, and it's our own fault. We're creating our own catastrophe. Would you as a private citizen pay for removing this toxic ash in a different way? Well, many people can't afford that. I don't know how much they got from FEMA, but they can't afford to box it up and put it in containers, even if they kept it on their own land. It gets to be very expensive, but the government won't pay for it. They now have officially said you have until a certain date to sign up for alternative removal of that ash.
Yeah, that was their silencing technique, I think.
Yeah, well, they've acknowledged that you could do it for yourself, and you have to get in touch with them and follow the rules, but they won't pay for it.
Yeah.
I think that would be something that the county should say, hey, we're going to put it in our budget. We put a lot of stuff in our budget. We're gonna put in the budget something that's an alternative, healthy way. But I haven't heard back from anyone, and I've submitted these shows. You know, people have said to me from around the world, and I had one I read today. The fact that you have so few views, there's got to be something going on. Someone's got to be stopping. I don't know. I think apathy and people being overwhelmed with this inflation. No, I'm not a big spender. I imagine you're also.
No,
we're very careful in our budget.
We live frugal, very frugal. Always have.
And yet, I'm finding there's more month than the end of my money, and I am just shocked that we are where we are now. But I spent last week. I called it a rant. Did you guys think some a guy, Brad, came up to me at church and said, "I loved your show last week. It was just you, and you were there just like." I felt like I was just going on and on about.
You were a bit unchecked last week when I
was unchecked.
Yeah, that's it. You
And
didn't
I
have
felt-
anybody there to slow you down.
I could. Well, thank you for. What's been the big thing for you this week, Scott?
You know, I've been, this whole new 0 point fossil fuel, and the more I've been researching into this, that it's actually maybe not fossil fuel, but there was a period in our geologic history where our what we call fossil fuel is layered down. It takes me back. My grandfather, who was an engineer and a diesel mechanic, said that they had, and he was a mechanic engineer, consolidated for like 40 years, and back in the 30s and 40s, he was telling my dad, and when I was young, I was hearing it, that they could create diesel engines and transmissions that basically ran on almost no
Pollutants.
a gallon of fuel, and when you burn fossil fuel, it creates oxygen. And if you just kind of step and hold back at that second for a second, okay, wait, if we burn fossil fuel, it's going to create more oxygen for the earth? Wait a minute. Now they have a new technology out of Diamond Research, and it's open source, so you can find it pretty much everywhere, that we can take a standard gasoline or diesel engine, reconfigure its burn and carburation systems, that when we use it, it creates oxygen, clean, I mean super clean oxygen, versus creating pollution.
And there are devices that you can put into the carburetor system.
This is
where
pretty
the
complex.
output is water.
Much lower, yes. Yeah.
So you've heard me talk about
Yeah.
hydrogen and
Yeah,
HHO.
exactly.
But the guy that makes the guts of that system has devices that go onto automobiles.
Absolutely.
And give it so. All
This
this
is-
stuff is. I don't know why it's not getting out there in the
Well,
media.
I think we're on the verge or a precipice of
Precipice.
precipice. That's so good. We're at that point where, okay, the way we're burning our fuel is so inefficient that all this technology that people have created over the last 75 years, which the ruling people and the money people have just said, no, we can't use this. It'll upset the economy. Now we're at that tipping point where it's like, if I have a generator on my back porch, it can generate everything I need for my house and just create fresh air. Whoa, wait. Okay. And part of this technology, when it comes to the 51.8, when they move air and move hydrocarbons through angled intake and extake that have the same dimensions as the Giza pyramids, we actually are creating, using ancient technology, they're finding out that there was more to this. Maybe Tesla back in his 100 years ago was onto something.
But what you said is really a really big thing to say, that when we look back into history and we say, how did they move these huge blocks of that the technologies that were understood then haven't been translated in through the years, or something has happened where the things that made all these amazing things happen, more than just psychic power lifting.
Oh, yeah. There was
science behind it.
Yeah. And how do you align perfectly with the stars, with, hunter-gatherers gathering together? Well, we're going to build a pyramid. Back then, people just wanted to eat, have children. No, they didn't want to build a massive pyramid. So, yeah, there's a conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico called the Tesla Conference. And people like one of your friends that does the recyclative greens.
Yeah, Michael Smith.
Michael Smith. Yeah, he was part of that conference. And the technology that's coming about is just scary good.
Scary good.
Yeah, but Michael Smith's technology, just taking yard waste basically, or clippings, and turning it into energy is brilliant. If you just kind of move that farther to ahead, and we take fossil fuels, which, is that layer of the earth that's like grease, and we can do the same thing, but it's 10,000 times more efficient. So can you imagine when you buy a car, you get a fill up every 10 years? We're getting close.
Wow.
We're getting close.
Yeah, but who's going to put that on the market and eliminate what sector of the economy is fueled on that fuel?
What I think is so amazing right now is that 20 years ago, you could stifle that technology because there was only ABC, NBC, and CBS.
Because the media wasn't
had control. But now when they open source it, all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute. It's like what Oppenheimer said. If you ever read any of Oppenheimer's books, he wanted to free source, which was that I don't know if he coined that word or not, but it was in his memoirs about everyone needs this technology so all the scientists can know how to use it and use it better. And I think we're there. I think because these new inventors who realize they have something that's so cutting edge are open sourcing on these forums. You can't put the genie back in the bottle here. Wait a minute.
I like the fact that we can't put the genie back in the bottle. I'm still not convinced that people are aware how important it is for them to be part of the push to get those implemented. Because the political system here, and I don't know exactly, someone talked about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
We need our heroes to get out there and stop some of these people from holding in place things that are strictly money interests.
Oh, yeah. Well, look at the Edison-Tesla fight over alternating current versus DC. Now you can look back and it's part of history. It hasn't stopped. That conflict, whether Tesla had a better idea, but Edison knew how to play Congress, he knew how to sell. If Tesla would have had that skill set, we'd be living in a different world today. So, but back then it was just like, my refrigerator gets cold. Everything has just opened up. And it frightens the government.
And it should.
It better, yeah.
But I think that when it frightens the government, again, every interest is a special interest because the government, in theory, is just all of us, right?
Right.
So that's the problem.
I think my political science hat on here, which was my first love. Here it is. Okay. So there was a time senators and representatives relied solely on the lobby to inform them on legislation. And for a member of the lobby, they wield lots of money and they donate a lot. But 30 years ago, they had the informational power to make sure representatives got their side of what needed to be said. And now, big money, BlackRock, all those power, huge, the Trilateral Commission, that whole new universal world power can control the media, they can control social media, and they can sway opinion with no information or no science. They can convince you to buy Tide over Gain laundry detergent, and they've been honing that technology to convince you that this candidate is bad, that candidate is good, this isn't happening, there's nothing to see here, and it hasn't stopped. They've wielded this power because if they can move the market, and this is becoming more and more obvious today with the electric car market, they thought, wow, this is good. Nothing bad comes out of a tailpipe of a car. But nobody stood up and said, hey, wait, we don't even know how to recycle our batteries we have today properly. And now you're putting 2,000 pounds in every car. So in 15 years, what are we going to do? Whoa, that hit home hard. So Toyota, Ford, Chevy's coming around, and most of them now have all switched their EV car production to hydrogen. So we'll be using hydrogen instead of creating this massive landfill of dead batteries.
They only go into hydrogen. Why don't they just put a bucket of water in the back and use it as fuel? Because
that's basically what they're doing.
Well, basically, I'm just waiting for it to happen.
We're there.
And the health, we think of it as fuel, but when we also realize the health implications of that same technology and what it can do, well, will upset the medical industry, will upset the fuel industry. Well, AI is doing it's taking away. They said it's going to be taking 300 million jobs.
Well, so did the steam engine.
Well,
we're there.
Here we are. What are we going to do with all these people? If we had all the people now with more and more free time, well, but they have to figure out how to survive, because here we are, we're the only creature in the world that has to work to survive.
Mm-hmm. Well, you think about the revolutions we've had just 100 and some years ago, where Fulton steam, it powered cotton to gin, took 100 people out of the cotton factories, or 200 people out of, and it's just progressed. We had this machine technology revolution. A backhoe can dig what 200 men would take to dig in a day. A backhoe can do in minutes. That took jobs away. Now we're in a revolution, and not a mechanical revolution, but a technology, a brain revolution. We improved the human body by making steam shovels. We made cars instead of horses. Now we're going to make increased technology for the human brain.
Well, what do we... I love that, but I really have a problem with, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
I don't see people who understand that this is happening getting a different kind of a perspective on their lives and what they would do with their time and how they might do things in a different and better way. I don't see that happening.
I think our younger generation, which, we're removed from, like my kids, they're in their 30s and such, I think they're seeing something. Only a couple of them work in that. Most of them are in the technology industry or information industry, but a couple are in that labor force. And, I think that's going to impact them.
Yeah.
But they're also... people are creating new tools for absolutely everything every day.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned about until we get there. This is a rough road.
I think it's a process, though.
Like us, when we want to find a job, you say, okay, well, let's see what jobs there are around. Well, the pay, if we work full time, at 3 of those jobs, we'll be able to have a life on Maui.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. So our whole time, and then we look for the jobs, and the pay is low. There's no need for too much, if any, technology, and then you'll say, okay, I'm going to work online. I'm going to work from home, and you start looking for jobs online, and you see these things that talk about jobs, and you click on the links, and here come people who want to send you lists of jobs. You wonder, well, why are they putting all that stuff up? Maybe they're getting paid per click on how many eyeballs see their ad. But their ad leads you to a cycle of nothing. Mm-hmm. And you wonder, well, what is happening? But then if you keep, this is me, you keep looking at them all and you see where they're leading you. And everyone has courses to teach you how to do these things, but they don't show you how to they don't show you how to market it without money. Right. Or without, let's use this tool and rewrite this article that already exists, where this, we hope, came from someone who is an expert that has the knowledge and all the footnotes and all the things that make it right, citations, and let's throw it in the hopper with AI and come out with a new article and then sell it. But don't sell a physical book. Sell an ebook. So you can just send them a link, and you can just keep...
I'm sorry. I've been using ebooks for 20 years. I just love them.
No, I don't mind ebooks. Yeah. What I mind is the fact that physical products are becoming online products. I used to have photo albums. Now I have 40,000 pictures and no photo albums.
Oh, yeah, right there on your phone.
Right there on my phone.
Yeah.
But then, one glitch, I lost 25,000 pictures.
Oh, my.
My whole early life and all the things I was doing, all gone. Because I thought, I don't need this stuff anymore. I've got it backed up in 3 different technology leaps in the last... Remember cassettes? And then it was a record, and then records became cassettes, became 8 tracks, became... I don't remember. CDs.
Oh, yeah.
DVDs now.
I still have my iPod in my safe that has... my entire album collection for my entire life.
Wow.
On one iPod. It used to be walls of CDs.
Yeah.
Right there. And that's a 20-year-old iPod.
Now, hopefully the cord that you use will still be able to
actually, because it was like, well, this is 160 gigabyte or whatever. And I actually took it into... computer guys right around the corner. They're not there anymore. They're another COVID lost business. And they cloned it for me and put it on a flash drive. And I actually had them put it on 3 flash drives. So I've got it in 3 different places. So, it could all go away. But
And, I actually ran into someone yesterday who I know who said, don't tell anyone. You walk in his house, his walls are covered with shelves of DVDs.
Yeah. Be real popular if we'd lose the internet.
And then I always look at that stuff and I think to myself, why do people have this thing about wanting to keep it?
That's my brother Bob.
Hold it and collect it. Someone maybe tell me why that's a big deal.
We have at home, I think, about 40 Blu-rays of this, like I call them comfort food movies, those movies where you're just not feeling right in the afternoon and you want a toasted cheese sandwich and a bowl of tomato soup and put this movie on, you feel good. I'm thinking, okay, if the technology just craps out, I got an old player in the closet, dust it off, plug it into the TV, and we can still watch movies if necessary. Wow. But not like my brother Bob has walls and walls. Yeah. And he did the same thing you did. He accidentally went, oops, I shouldn't have pushed that button. But, some friends helped him. They recovered it. But,
yeah, that's the thing. I had it all on computer. I didn't have it backed up in physical form. And then when you talk to the technology people, it's so easy for them to say, okay, we'll just have to wipe that device clean, and then you'll have a great new device. Yeah, but what about all the information on the device? What about that?
Yeah. Yeah, we're at this new revolution, but it's we improve the human body by making steam shovels, we made diggers, we made building things, and now we're going to have the next revolution will be of the mind.
I hope so.
Yeah, I totally believe that it's still unknown. It was all voodoo and smoke and mirrors, and that's just alchemy. Maybe alchemy is just some science we haven't discovered. So, and I'm looking at this zero carbon emission baking actually. This really crazy technology. It's on Diamond Tech, and it's open source through the Tesla Group. But this might be the answer to creating an atmosphere on another planet using ancient technology.
Creating an atmosphere.
Creating an atmosphere on a sphere that does not have an atmosphere. Like re-putting... There is air on Mars. There's not enough for us to breathe. But with this technology, if you take it out maybe 30 years, maybe we can generate oxygen on another world. And maybe this will be able to clean our entire oxygen system, because we've discovered fire, and then we learned how to boil water, and then we made a steam engine. Then we learned a new way to boil water with electricity or with gas and oil, and then we learned how to make it with electricity from the steam that we made from. And we're just, and just like my grandfather said, and which is really weird, the technology that's in my 15-year-old Subaru with a variable speed transmission. My grandfather said they had that technology in the 30s. And that technology, so your engine would be idling and you're doing 70 miles an hour, which basically the VVTs, which are in most all new small, or all current cars and trucks and semis, allows for the motor and the transmission to use as little energy as possible once it's up to speed. So it just makes sense that that's where we're going.
Is it going to happen fast enough to
It's
still
gonna
have a
happen.
world left?
Yeah, there'll be a world left.
Yeah,
I mean, I could
here, imagine. I mean, I'm just really, I guess I'm just getting soured in my old age because it's not going to be in my lifetime. I've lived this lifetime having such great hopes.
I still have great hopes. I mean,
That's good.
when I was in kindergarten, we still climbed under our desks for the explosion drills. That was it. It was over. After that, it was over. And you were a little bit older than I am. I know you remember that in New York City.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, get under your desk, tuck, cover. And I remember the riots during the Democratic Convention in
68.
in Portland, and all the riots
Portland.
and all that. And I remember having armed guards or armed family members escort me to school, and other kids in my class. And
Wow.
cousins and uncles came to our family business and were staged on the roof to make sure that they could make sure no fire bombers burnt down our family business, which was going on during the 60s, during the riots.
When you say riots, don't you think about now and think about how crazy
Yeah.
it is now?
You know,
Can't talk about things and the powers that be have control. And look at the college campuses and all that's happening now. And it's incredible.
I would never think in my lifetime that the Nazi protests, positive Nazi protests, would be on almost every college campus disguised as pro-Islam. It's not even pro-Islam, because that's not what Islam is about. It's a facet of Islam that hates the Jews. And now we're on all this Jew hating that's going on all the campuses. And what frightens me is that if you were in one of those cities that you're trying to defend and trying to do what you're doing here, you would have been shot and killed instantly. The gay groups that came out on these campuses pro-Palestine, I'm like going, do you know they throw people off roofs that are gay in those friggin' communities? And they have forever? And it's still happening today, and nobody fucking, excuse me.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
Beep. Nobody's waking up about that. They're supporting a group that does incredible. And there again, we've got social media, the mainstream media, who isn't telling the whole story.
What about, well, I'm afraid to start this subject because it's so controversial. I just know that I just can't understand how, I guess innocent till proven guilty, great. But when you hear Trump talking about if I win, yay. If I lose, watch out. There's going to be fighting. Isn't that really sad to me?
Well, see, there again, I looked at that clip, and because I'm I just had to go and say, okay, I want to listen to this clip. They took 3 words, patched them together, and made something new. And they keep doing that, and they keep doing it. No one questions it.
But the people that are listening aren't as
no, they don't
careful
question
as you.
anything, Jason.
And so we're fanning the flames to having problems moving forward.
Yeah.
Does that get any different than years ago? It's the same.
Well, we have 12 million new unregistered voters, so that ought to be interesting.
Is that right? That'll be interesting.
12 million new people in the country that we have no idea who they are and where they came from that have crossed our border in the last, 8 years. That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But let's consider them as almost a separate issue, because I'm talking about those that are here that are, I still think the January 6th issue and the fight about whether or not the call for insurrection while a president, why are you immune? I don't understand that.
Well, let's not go to January 6th. I have people that I know that were there. That was a setup. That was a CIA setup, just like killing President Kennedy.
But the fact is, no matter what's set up and no matter how much was faked,
how many times has the U.S. Senate and House been occupied by thousands that they never talked about January 6th? Where after World War I, all the soldiers who wanted their benefits that they were promised for fighting in the war, they completely shut down the Capitol. Those soldiers went to the Capitol, camped out, put tents up around the Capitol, and shut it down for 25 days. And no news media ever talks about that.
Well, I'm saying that all I was really going for. You're good for bringing up, something comparing, but I'm saying we in our future know that in this year, when an election happens, and let's assume that Trump will be on the ballot and Biden will be on the ballot, and Jill Stein, who was just arrested there at one of the protests from the Green Party, and Cornell Green as an independent, and other independents, and Joe Biden, and they're all there, and Robert Kennedy, and they're all running, and now here comes the tallies and whatever. Why?
We just need to make Election Day a holiday and in-person voting, and then the voice of the people will be there.
I don't expect to see that this year, do you?
Not this year, gosh, no. But wouldn't that be simple? Even a 2-day holiday, a national 2-day holiday, so that you can go and vote. When I vote here in person, they ask for my ID. It's not that it's required.
Well, I think it must be that you have to match something to show you're you.
You just actually have to give him this and this, and it actually matches the role. You don't have to have the face to go with that, but it just makes it easier for the folks working the polls to look at your name and, But I have no idea when you can't even go grocery shopping and write a check or get a bank card or whatever. ID just seems like it's
I wanted to put money into someone's account, and they said, do you have your ID?
Right.
You can't put money into someone else's account.
No. Isn't that, yeah.
That's a bit extreme.
Yeah. And how insulting to our ethnic communities that they targeted, saying, well, they wouldn't be able to vote. And I'm going like, that is so demeaning and talking down like people aren't smart enough to get an ID. It's just wrong. There is nothing. You can't survive without ID today.
No.
No. So why should you be able to vote? Why, if I knew that Billy Thorpe passed away a couple years ago, I'm just going to go in and say I'm Billy Thorpe and vote. Then I don't need to show an ID. I just know Billy Thorpe was my neighbor. He lived there. I'm going to go in. They're going to find it on the rolls because they don't purge the rolls, and say I'm that person. And it's so easy. When I was going door to door for candidates from the 70s and 80s all the way through my own campaigns, you get these walking lists that they would generate, so you can go out and go door to door and knock. And oh yeah, I see you're registered, blah, and talk to folks. That same walking list, it wouldn't take a lot of physical energy if by an organization with a lot of money, they could hire a bunch of college kids for X amount of money. Just go out on this walking list. Oh, and they say, oh, they don't live there anymore, but they see them on the rolls. Then they just need to show up at the polls and say they're that person if there's no voter ID.
Well,
we can get into more subtleties. Yeah, the system can be jerked pretty quick. It's just so easy to kink it.
But we get through all that. No matter who we vote for, we all, at least 40%, mostly, aren't happy. Yeah. So who's doing all these things you're talking about? Is it a conspiracy, or is it just individuals that decide they're going to add a vote by being their old neighbor Billy?
I think it's special interest groups who have lots of money. They're putting tens of millions, if not billions of dollars into a national candidate, and they're hedging their bets.
And when they're hedging their bets to put a national candidate for their own interests?
For their own interests, right, which is fine. That's the American way, so to speak.
The American way.
Right, but if you just need a 0.5 percentage point, you can spend $1 million over here hiring a bunch of people to go out and canvass a neighborhood, and then when you turn your list in, you find out, oh, they passed away, and that's how when you turn your list in after you go out canvassing as a college student, or whoever, anyone can canvass. All of a sudden, now you've generated a list of people who could vote that are passed away or no longer live there, or moved to another state. And now the opportunity for voter fraud, and you don't need a lot. You just need such a micro amount.
I got it.
How did more people vote in the 2020 election than are registered? That's the one I still haven't been able to figure out.
Well, you did figure it out. But now, and then you take all that and you pour it into a system that says, okay, in every state we got 9 things, and that represents 8 and 3 and 9. So the whole system may be foul.
I think as Americans, we're all honest, loyal people that want the best for our country. And what happens, I think, is that the news media goes, C-SPAN, not CNN, but C-SPAN, who covers what goes on in the House and the Senate. That's the most boring station you could ever watch. But that's how our government works. And normally, when I used to watch C-SPAN, when there was a bill or something going through that I was trying to pay attention to, and I would hear certain representatives that I knew that were well informed get up and go through this is a good point, this is my point why this works. And then you get at somebody from the other side, these are the points where this doesn't work. And I go, okay, that's where you hammer out something in between. But now they don't have that opportunity more because the media can sway the American people before they even know what the issue is. And we've lost that connection because big money can move the opinions. What really bothered me after 9/11 was the Patriot Act. During the formation of the Patriot Act, when this bill was rushed through the Senate, House and the Senate, they had the opportunity to do something that could have changed our world. They had the opportunity to put the same FCC regulations on the internet for subliminal advertising as NBC, ABC, and all the news networks have. So if you're looking at Facebook, any social media, YouTube, all these non-affiliated sources, subliminal advertising, that we all know what it is. It's like back in the 60s, they realized they can flash something up on a commercial that makes you want to go drink a... If you've been to a movie theater lately and watched that thing at the beginning and you watch that video and the RC Cola or the Coke's pouring in it and they're making popcorn, if that doesn't make you hungry, that's subliminal advertising. That's not controlled by the FCC. The movie that's going to play is. But if you go to a movie theater today and you watch that and watch that pop fill up and they put the straw in and they see the popcorn, if that doesn't inspire you to go get something you never eat, I don't know what does.
Well, the cat is out of the bag.
It is.
And I don't know how to put him back in.
Well,
do you?
I don't, Jason.
So
because I don't want regulation, but
where is it going? You know, we keep talking about the world is full of talking about things, but where and how do we make those changes? I'm just bringing it up only because I hear people talking to me about there are all these environmental groups and they all have their own agenda and they're all like splinters. Why don't they all get together so we can really make a big change? First of all, they're all trying to survive and put their little piece in and put those subliminal messages wherever they can.
Right.
And they have to then figure out with this massive media thing, and now they have people have tools to put them out wildly.
Yeah.
How does that innocent viewer deal with it?
It like this, and this is really weird because this is a hot button in a lot of places because people don't have the information. So they're talking about, well, kids, they're changing their genders or they're doing this gender reassignment.
That just means how you describe yourself.
No,
right?
That's not. That gender reassignment surgery.
Oh, surgery.
Okay. So there's a certain percentage of people when they're born are born with both genitalia.
Okay.
And gender reassignment surgery is at that point where the doctors look at things and go, we're going to have to fix this. And so they either remove some parts or move or whatever. It's not changing it. It's just going, we don't need this extra part because there's two parts. But the media have blown this up and made this all about we're changing kids from one sex to another, which is not correct.
Well, that's interesting. I never heard gender reassignment
surgery
where both parts were identified as that's what gender.
Yeah,
I've never heard that before.
And there again, I think now let's roll this back to a Bobby Kennedy thing.
Okay.
That I think it's because of our food and the crap that we're putting in our bodies generationally now. We're mixing up our chromosomes so badly. It's not new. This, people born with both genitalia is not something new in history. It happens in the animal kingdom too. But it seems like it's becoming more prevalent or it's becoming more known. But I think, where all this medication that we're pouring into Xanax, everything else that people are taking now generationally is messing with our outcome of our kids.
And, there's that last little piece. So what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it, Schwartz?
We all talk about these things. What's the deal? Like we can't even stop putting toxic waste in the ground because someone's controlling us, and those that are our representatives for our world are going with the program. What are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it?
I mean, I don't doubt that the more informed I get, the more discouraged I've gotten. I did it on the Olawalu toxic issue to the point where I just cannot understand how, no matter what money you're going to get from whomever, would you do the choices that they're doing. And They don't even give me a chance. They don't listen to what I say.
It's not about right or wrong. It's about the purse strings.
So I'm just saying to you. So
Yeah.
in what you just said, you know, and all the argument. Well, I know people that were men that had their breasts enlarged. Is that a transfer? Sort of definitions and whatever. But I'm like, so what's the outcome here? What do we do?
I don't know that one.
Are we just
think
now more aware as we don't have a job and we all become philosophers and we're going to elevate the knowledge and do nothing and live in a world that's being controlled, and now we're going to go out into space and put oxygen on a new planet.
Yeah,
because we've screwed this one up.
Screw another planet up. There we go.
We can't do anything to fix this one because we're already over that line. Remember when they said, I remember hearing when Jacques Cousteau quit, and they said the reason he quit doing what he's doing, he said, that's it. We're past the line of being able to save this. Why should I do it anymore?
Yeah.
Is that where we're all going? Are we all?
I think we're on the precipice. Maybe AI will come up with newer and innovative ways to change things.
Did you hear in this morning's paper that one of these groups, I think it was Facebook, Meta, gave up a couple of these AI things, or they're looking at them because they're now speaking their own language that we don't understand.
Yeah, if they can speak binary, that's nothing we're going to be able to understand.
No, but that's why I'm saying it that way. Well, we keep walking down these ridiculous paths that we... So now that we know that can happen, will that spill over?
No, I think it happened.
No, it's just identified and say, oh, isn't that interesting? But the rest keeps going on.
Because if you really think about that was a really good... I read that too, and I was like, you know what? My phone talks to me, but I don't understand the technology between your phone and my phone so that I can hear your voice. So that's nothing different than AI.
Well, what if the two...
Communicate?
Two
By synchronously communicate, yeah.
But no, they communicate, and they're talking about something that we have no idea what it is.
We all watched Terminator in the 80s, you know.
Well, you know, these
Skynet's
movies...
watching us.
Well, you know, I wonder, you know, when I get onto these things, but people live their own lives and regular jobs and regular lives. And the question is, did Johnny do his homework? And did he learn about the history of the United States and all the rest?
And which history did he learn? Right.
And then they all grow up into bigger adults. And like you said, I try to go and get a regular job. They're like, well, what languages the computer do you understand?
Right.
You don't have training to get these jobs. When these jobs that start at 70,000, you're out of college, you're making 70,000, but Grandpa can't get arrested. Can't get. What are we doing? Are we waiting for the oldsters to die until the new technology and new regimes don't have any challenge and then just keep on going the new way?
You know, another hotbed subject, and it's this right to die movement that started out like 30 years ago is gaining more and more speed, where people that I actually know and are friends with have already created in Oregon it's legal. If you don't want to be alive, they'll kill you. I know that's blunt, but people are already...
I know people here that wanted to die that knew that what they were doing was outside the letter of the law, and they still were able to accomplish that.
Yeah, I mean, this is but outside the law, but this within the law, well, I can't play pickleball anymore. I've created a document, I got it legalized, I got it written over by an attorney, and bam, I'm going to go to Oregon, and then I'll be gone. I mean, it's not... I get it if you're extremely sick and you're bedridden and you're miserable. I've been there. I was there this morning. It took 2 hours to get out of bed because my back's blown. I get that, but if you just do it for other reasons, then, well, I can't play golf, or I can't play pickleball, or I can't sew anymore because my hands aren't working correctly. You learn so much from your elders.
What would those people do? You know, we know people real close in our circle who have these problems. They have no help.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to live.
And bam.
They can't walk.
Yep.
And they're like, well, why am
I taking up
living?
space?
What am I doing here? I would rather find some way to not be here, because how much suffering do we have to go through? So there's
right. I see both sides of it. I'm not.
So I'm not arguing.
Yeah.
I'm only looking at how things are. We're way down the road here.
We kicked that can down the road in the 60s.
Long ago already.
Yeah, and you know, I think we're just at that point where people are just going to get to the point where, well, my retirement was really good, and now inflation, you know, a gallon of milk was $185 this week, and I guess it's just time for to go. You know, and I think I just wonder if these big money powers are just saying, okay, it's time to just.
Well, you know, we have to reduce the population of the world. Now the world is.
But we're the only country that believes that.
What?
That we need to reduce the population. China is growing exponentially again. They're having 3 or 4 kids. Africa's still growing. Those are the two. China and Africa and India are the only economies that are just going to probably pull us through this. China is moved into Africa the same as the United Kingdom moved through the entire world. China will own Africa. They're building superhighways all the way through Africa. They're building not Walmarts, they're building factories. It's called the Silk Road, which goes all the way from China all the way through Africa. And they will have Africa as a satellite nation of the People's Republic of China. And they're doing it right in front of us. The Chinese now have the Marshall Islands. They have the protectorate of everything we fought for in World War II. They're moving this way. There's money to be made, and it's better to.
So what when they get there?
It's it's colonialism.
Well, I understand, but when we look at these things, we all hear it. We know it. They're moving this way. So what's going to happen when they get there? Are they going to allow the people in the area to adopt, or are they going to say, well, anyone that's old and has these disabilities, well, we're going to give you the choice. If you want, you'll be able to take your own life. We'll help you.
What do they do in China? What's the benchmark in China?
One child?
No, that used to be. They realized that was a huge mistake.
Oh, did they?
They destroyed their future workforce. But China still has where family takes care of family. Here, we no longer have family taking care of family. We've had to move all over the place. And so, and this has crossed my mind a lot lately since the great experiment of COVID to shut down and take people's rights. And since the fire, it's like I can't travel to see my grandkids and my family, but maybe once every few years. It made me realize that, well, now I'm really living a long ways from where my kids have moved to. Maybe it's time for me to just like pack up and be somewhere where I'm a few hour drive or whatever from at least kind of the kids. Because I don't see in this economy where we're going to have to, it's going to force us back into family units or in some kind of cooperative units to survive. Or we have community gardens. I think we're on the way there. We have community gardens here on the island that people share space. I think this economy will force us back into growing more products, our own foods, all of those things I think are on the horizons, not because they're fun or trendy, but because they're necessary. We have the ability to plant enough potatoes out in this central Maui to feed all of Hawaii. You know, Hawaii and Alaska are the only 2 states that have the ability to feed our population if everything goes downhill, to be totally gone. Yeah. We can grow and feed ourselves. No other state has that ability with its populations. California, the bread bowl of, you know, almost all food production can't survive without the petroleum industry to give them fertilizer. So all that land is producing all that food. You got about 9, maybe 10 crops before the soil will be depleted. You'll no longer be able to, so they'd be forced to change their farming practices. So I don't want to be gloom and doom, But I think we're on the precipice of something changing. We're going to have this new brain. We improved the human body with cars and tractors, and now we're going to improve the human mind with AI. See, I'm not really a person, Jason. I'm actually an AI that was planted here by an alien spacecraft.
We have less than 2 minutes, Mr. AI. Can you imagine that?
We have so much fun talking.
No, but we're talking, but I get to the point where I like, why go on? Well, because you can't take your own life. It's not allowed.
Yeah.
There's a very big confusion on what the rules are, where the rules are going, what can be enforced, what isn't. What good is talking all this stuff when no one takes anything seriously, and they take it seriously, but they can't do anything about it? So then, do we all get selfish and start taking care of our own little small groups and don't worry about the other guy? Or do we worry about everybody, and do we all share? Do we learn it and become one and kumbaya?
We go back to where we're getting kind of clanny now, but I don't think it's by choice. I think it's because that's all that people, because it sells soap. If you watch something and you look at if it has to sell commercial time for somebody to make money, then they're going to sensationalize it.
Do you know that we have seconds to go? 30 seconds? Is that what I said? It is 30 seconds.
Wow.
If I can see correctly, 20 seconds. Scott, thank you for coming here.
It's always fun.
We'll do it again.
We never have a subject, but we always just kind of go all over the place.
Oh, we could have a subject, but I think this was a rest period. Just to
your ranting and ravers are good.
Thank you, everyone. You're going to hear my credits. Is that right? Is it playing? I hope it's playing. Because we're going to be out here in a second. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week. Aloha.